Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome to my channel. My name is Hales and I make videos about the books that I'm reading. For today's video, I'm just going to be going through the Kindle Unlimited romance books that I loved the most and giving you a few recommendations for those. I'm going to start with the books that I have not purchased physically so that I can go through those a little bit easier and hold them up for you. So I'm going to start with the ones just on my Kindle. So first is one that I just recently finished reading, and I did have an ARC, but it should be available on Kindle Unlimited now, and that is Holding the Reins by Paisley Hope. That's the cover, minus the ARC sticker in the corner. But it is a cowboy romance, and I have been on such a cowboy romance kick lately. Like I'm like, it's on my Kindle and everything. I am obsessed. I wanted to read this book first because I saw the author put up like some art that she'd had done for the book and teased it with a scene that's, I think it's like 60-70% in. Oh my god. It involves bourbon. Not only that, but Nash is also a former hockey player, and I also really like hockey romance. Like, cowboy romance and hockey romance have been the two that I have liked the most. He was in the NHL, and so he has, you know, pro hockey player money, and he only wants to do good. And Cece is also the younger sister of his best friend, and their family had taken him in when he was younger and had experienced a family tragedy. I think there's a kitty cat trying to get in this library. I loved Cece as a character. I just thought she was trying so hard to make everyone think that she was okay, and Nash just saw through all of that. And I loved how their relationship developed past the point of just being Cece's older brother's best friend and this guy that she had always been around when she was younger. And it was just really nice to see the development and the resolution and where their story ends up. So I honestly cannot recommend this one enough. Highly recommend it. Holding the Reins by Paisley Hope. So the next one is another hockey romance, and it is Pucking Around by Emily Rath. And this was another one that I had seen a lot of talk about it on social media. I think it was mainly Instagram, and it had been getting recommended to me on Amazon. So I finally picked it up, and I had been a little bit iffy because I really haven't gotten into the whole like why choose kind of romances. I tried to read Den of Vipers when I first got Kindle Unlimited, and I think that that was probably a bad choice to just like immediately dive into Den of Vipers. I don't even remember how much I read of it, but it wasn't good. Sorry, it looks like my ring light's gonna fall and I keep getting distracted by it. I also, part of me loves when a book is set where I grew up. Part of me does not, because the whole time I was like, not so sure I want to see Rachel going back to Cincinnati and talking about all the different things in Cincinnati, because I grew up in Cincinnati, and for whatever reason, it just makes me uncomfortable all the time. And it's funny because she is now in Jacksonville and I live in Tampa. And then what's even funnier is that she moves to Jacksonville in Pucking Around, and I live in Tampa. So she spends a lot of her time in school in Cincinnati, and then when she's out of school and she's doing like interning and all that, she's in Florida. I'm like, okay, okay. I loved the relationship between Rachel and Jake. My Kindle is updating, or I would continue speaking. That one night, the prequel novella was also incredible. I read the entire thing laying in the sun on a lounge chair by the pool. Is fantastic. I'm kind of second guessing myself because I'm like, wait, was his name Jake? But I think it's fine. I was also super intimidated because the book is 756 pages, and I had never read a romance book that long before, but I really loved it and I could not put it down. I was enjoying it so much. Next, I have another hockey romance that I also just recently read this year, 2024, and that is Offside by Avery Keelan, and it's another one that I just flew through. I have been feeling quite slumpy this year, and as soon as I find a book that has me on the edge of my seat like that, I am so excited. I loved Bailey so much. Chase was just, it seemed like reading the description that he was going to be a little bit more of a fuckboy, a little bit more of an asshole, and he wasn't at all any of those things. He might have acted like that toward her ex and some of her friends that were not being very good friends to her. But when it comes to Bailey, like, that man will beat some ass. He put his money where his mouth is, and he defended her and stuck up for her. And there was something about it that was just better than any that I've read in any other book. And then the last one that I don't have a physical copy of, but really need to get a physical copy of, is Smoking Gun by Lainey Lawson. And this is another one that I had the arc of, and I think it only took me like 2 days to read that. As soon as it hit my email, I think they were sent out like 12 hours early or something. Like, we were expecting them at a certain time, and all of a sudden it was in my inbox. And I immediately sent it to my Kindle, downloaded it, and read like 50%. I think I made my way through half of it right then. And then I had stuff to do and I had to go to sleep, but it was so good and I couldn't put it down. And above all of that, it was like, it wasn't just a cowboy romance. There was this darker aspect to it that I'm not going to spoil because I liked being like, oh, like what's going on? How is this gonna come to fruition? How are they gonna explain this? And it was fantastic. I'm looking at the stack of copies that I have physical versions of, and so many of them are cowboy romances. So first up, we have Broken Vow by Sophie Lark, and this is part of the Brutal Birthright series. And I love this series as a whole, and I highly recommend the entire series, but especially this one. I think it's because I read it and I finished it like right when I was really getting into cowboy romance. And it's not totally cowboy romance. I think the first like 30% takes place in Chicago and has a lot to do with her being stalked and trying to figure out who's following her and who's trying to kill her. And like, she gets attacked, and it sets up for them to go elsewhere, and they're on his like family ranch. It's see, I don't want to say her name because I feel like I'm gonna say it wrong, but it's Riona. I think I was calling her Riona, so that's what I'm going to call her for the duration of the video. But if it is pronounced differently, please enlighten me because I have no idea. But it's Riona. See, I never say it consistently. Rihanna and Raylan. And Raylan is former military, and he is enlisted to be her bodyguard and make sure that she's okay. there's this scene on the outside of a building that had me so freaked out. But they go to Tennessee, and there's another scene. There's another scene by the creek that was just insane. I'm like, you're gonna get dirt in a lot of places that you probably don't want dirt. I loved how the book took on this like slower pacing, not necessarily making it feel like the book was slow, but just when I think about when it was taking place in Chicago, I'm like, yeah, this is super loud and exciting and there's a lot going on. And then I think about when they're in Tennessee and it just feels calmer and quieter. And I loved that like switch up. I just really enjoyed the way that the setting also felt like a character in this book, because it was so different from the rest of the series, and it's so different from the book that comes after it. I'm gonna try to switch this up so that I'm not just doing cowboy romance after cowboy romance. So the next one I have is Good Game by Madison Fox. And I was immediately intrigued by this because I know nothing about video games at all. I have an Xbox sitting somewhere in this room that I've used like 3 times, and I don't think I've hooked it up the entire 5 years that I've lived in this house. But everything about it just seemed so interesting, and I like to read about things that I have no idea about and kind of get a glimpse into that world. And Stevie and Alex, their chemistry was off the charts. Like, from the very beginning, everything going back to like the feelings, when I think about all their scenes together, it's just so electric, and like you could cut the tension with a knife, but then they're also falling for each other, and it's just incredible. And I have been following Madison for a long time on like YouTube and Instagram, so it was really awesome to see that she was releasing a book, and now I am waiting for Forbidden Game because it's just going to be incredible. And I loved Sydney so much, so I can't wait to see her and Parker's story. Next up, we have another cowboy romance, and that is Done and Dusted by Lila Sage. And the next one comes out in less than a month, the day that I see Olivia Rodrigo in Orlando. And I just know I'm going to be sitting, reading, waiting for the show to start, and just, I'm so excited. I loved Emmy so much. This was just, it was another one that was brother's best friend, and then he also owns a bar, and he's just like rugged and hot, and she kept telling herself like, no, this guy annoys the hell out of me. Yeah, no, he doesn't. No, he does not. I mean, she folded. She crumpled like a potato sack. She was down. But what's better is that he fell first. Like the second she walked into his bar, he was gone. And you know, I really love that in a man, especially when he shows it. The banter is always fun, but like he was gonna get his girl. Okay, I know I've talked about this before in a couple of videos about how I started the Dreamland Billionaires series, and I didn't like the fine print that much, but Terms and Conditions was incredible. This was my favorite by far. I think I'm like 40% into Final Offer right now, and it's nowhere near as good. And I don't know if that's just because I do love this one so much, and I love Iris so much, or for other reasons with the Final Offer that I'm not going to get into that are really clouding my judgment. But Terms and Conditions was fantastic. I was switching between the audiobook and the ebook, and just so that I could fly through it and keep listening when I couldn't be physically reading with my eyeballs. Iris just, she wanted what she wanted and she took it. And I hate the third act breakup, but I think it really worked in this book. It also has, I don't want to say that it's just one bed trope, but it's they end up in the same bed, snuggling at the end during the third act breakup situation. And he is just, I love when the man is a simp. I love it because it's what all of these girls in these romance books deserve. So this is the one that really started the cowboy love affair for me, and that is Flawless by Elsie Silver. And yes, I am bitter that I don't have the mirror cover, but that's another conversation. I didn't really know what to expect going into this, but I loved it. Almost immediately, I was like, I can't wait for Summer to continue to put Rhett in his place and just knock him down a peg, because he was kind of an asshole. Which, to be fair, the dude that was hounding him about milk, like, really? It's milk. He can take the sponsorship and still not be a fan. Like, is that it's a little wishy-washy, but like, to know something about this guy and continue to harass him about it, the man's just trying to make some money. And maybe that's very, like, disingenuous and untruthful, very false advertising of him, but, like, okay, so he doesn't like milk all that much. Is it really something that you are gonna, like, chase after him about? I probably would have hit the dude too if he grabbed me like that. Like, he grabbed Rhett's arm and he, like, rears back and hits him, right? Don't touch me. But, like, Summer literally says, I think they blew this so far out of proportion that I can't help but laugh. Who the hell cares what you prefer as a beverage? Because honestly, who cares? It was so silly to me. And, like, there's a scene with whipped cream and just, it was so funny that all of this was over milk. This entire book was because the dude doesn't like milk. And when he's describing the milk that, like, comes fresh out of a cow and how he was forced to drink it as a kid, yeah, I wouldn't want to drink milk after that either. So honestly, just let the man live. I don't think I actually went through most of the plot with that, but yeah, it was incredible. And I had no idea about anything relating to the rodeo or cowboy romances or anything, but I kept seeing it everywhere. I saw it on TikTok a lot, and I had to pick it up. And then the last one that I have to talk about today is Twisted Games by Anna Huang. And I just really loved everything about this. This was another one that I was really hesitant about because I read the first book and didn't really like it. And I'm usually the type that's like, the first book is my favorite. And I associate, like, really strong memories and a lot of happiness with the first book. And, like, that's always my favorite one. I still remember how I felt reading the first Twilight book back in, like, 2008. I think it was, like, spring break of 2008. I remember who was with me when I bought the book. I remember where I bought the book. I remember why I bought the book. The movie had just started filming and it was being put in, like, book fairs and stuff, and my cousin got it and I bought it because she was reading it and she did not read a lot at the time. And we were at Walmart and I was like, I have to get this book, and I got it and I read it in, like, a day. I don't think that I read it in one sitting, but it was really close. And that's kind of the feeling when I think about Twisted Games, because it was a lot sweeter. There was still a lot of the, like, grumpy sunshine. No books were harmed in the making of this video, I promise. Like, it was just sweeter and it seemed a little bit calmer. The first one was a bit darker, which is fine. They're like darker kinds of romances. There's crazy stuff that happens in them, but this was just the one that I really latched onto, and I think it was partly because the main character is a princess, and I love anything to do with fictional royals. So that was just really fun to see Bridget and Reese, her bodyguard, and the relationship that they developed. And this one had another third act breakup. I hate that trope so much. I don't like the angst and the sadness that comes with the couple breaking up, which I guess it's a good plot point, but it kind of gets annoying, especially when I read so many romances and they're always like breaking up just so they get back together. Like, let them be happy. Just let them be happy. Just let them be happy. We can have the happily ever can start at 75%. It's fine. They don't need to break up. But those are my top Kindle Unlimited romance recommendations. I will probably make another one of these videos because there are a lot more that I really enjoyed. And I would love to talk about those and maybe talk about some of the sequels that I had also enjoyed. But that's it for this video for now. If you liked this video, like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!